Hi, folks. This is a tarot reading for Sagittarius, Ascendant, Moon, and Sun for the month of December 2018. And again, I'm using the Gemini tarot spread that I created recently. For more information on that spread and how it works, you can watch my video on it on my channel. And yeah, otherwise, I'm going to get right to it. We've got the Sagittarius Ascendant right here. This is always where Sagittarius is in this Ascendant, even though we always put this card out first, which is Aries. So this is your ascendant here, Sagittarius. This is your kind of, main stuff that's going on for you this month. And then we also have the 13th card in the middle, which sort of is the underlying thread that sort of runs through everything and kind of brings everything together. So actually, just like a few other spreads for this month, we've got a major arcana in the ascendant and a major arcana as a 13th card. So very significant there because major arcana are going to be more emphasized for you. Then we've got additional major arcana. So all in all, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 out of 13, that's almost half. So pretty significant, pretty damn significant. And that is going to be emphasizing like a lot of heavy duty energies for you this month that are sort of may feel like they're beyond your control, or that they're happening, things that are happening on a very deep level and stuff like that. It's kind of what major arcana tend to emphasize and whatnot. And, we've got major arcana cards that do refer to some kind of change or upheaval with the Tower, the Chariot, and Judgment. Certainly, these cards are a bit more stable, and justice can kind of go either way. When justice comes, it can really shift things, or it can strengthen things that are already happening. It sort of just depends on the rest of the cards and whatnot. Let's see, what else do we have? We've got 1, 2, 3 swords cards, 1, 2 wands, and then of cups, we've got just this one, it looks like. And then we've got 1 pentacles card. I think that's right. Yeah. So we really have the least amount in terms of like happiness and fulfillment and emotional stuff and monetary concerns and whatnot and foundations in the world. So we've got the least amount of that here. And we've got a bit more change happening, I would say, with the wands cards, or at least activity and individualism and initiative. And then with the swords, we have, of course, the intellect and the realm of thoughts and ideas and whatnot. So we'll see how that all kind of plays out as we go through the spread. So let's start with your ascendant, the Tower. Not the easiest card to have, but it is right side up, which means that something is breaking free for you this month. Something that's been really cooped up, possibly suppressed or stifled, is sort of violently and aggressively breaking free. And so ultimately, the Tower is an important card in the scheme of the natural world and the cosmos and whatnot. It is no better or worse card than any other card, but it does signify upheaval. It does signify change. It does signify an opportunity to take things back to level 1, so to speak, or ground zero, or to refortify one's foundations. Because if we notice that the Tower is getting destroyed and people are falling out of it, but the foundations it rests upon are not getting destroyed, presumably at least. And so therefore we will inevitably be left with our initial foundations. So the Tower is never complete and utter annihilation or anything like that. The Tower is also signifying kind of a fall from a height, being like overly ambitious and possibly from an unrealistic or egocentric frame of mind and trying to achieve and control too much, hence the crown of the Emperor that's coming off at the top here. And we even have the Emperor in the 12th house. So we very much have this theme emphasized already of maybe you have been shooting too high or something, or trying to control things too much. Sagittarius itself can also show a fall from a height in astrology. Sagittarius is a sign that is always seeking above and beyond. And it's almost like if you think about an archer like aiming up at the sky, like Sagittarius, his eyes are on the sky. And so as he's walking or running, because he's a centaur, maybe he trips over a rock because his ideals were too far out, too ambitious. And so he lost sight of what was around him and that kind of a thing. So if you've been shooting too high and trying to climb a mountain prematurely without the proper preparation, or ignoring the weather conditions, like that one fellow who climbed Everest and ignored the storm, and then I think like lost both of his hands in from extreme frostbite, which led to like a gangrenous condition, then this month for you is a time to like reconsider that ambition and pushing yourself too hard and forging ahead even when there's potentially danger and stuff. Because also you have justice as the 13th card here. So, basically your actions you're going to get exactly this month. You're going to get exactly what you have asked for, basically. You're going to get exactly what you need to bring balance, which spiritually is very auspicious, but oftentimes materially it appears as a tragedy or something like that. So you are in a state basically of imbalance for this month is what it's showing. Or rather, sorry, it's not showing you're in a state of imbalance. It's showing that you have an opportunity to correct a state of imbalance that you've already been in for some time is more likely what it is. I feel like that's what it's showing. And again, there's some kind of like unconscious with the 12th house here, unconscious desire for some kind of power or control and whatnot. And in a sense, the Emperor could be interfering with the World card, which is like freedom and pleasure and play and fulfillment. So we'll probably talk about that more as we work our way around the wheel here. But yeah, the Emperor is like this, you could be incurring the wrath or ire of kings and princes, which in today's world means like the government or people with power. It could be a boss, could be a father figure and that sort of a thing. They could be working behind your back. But ultimately what this deals with is some sort of secret desire for power, I think, and for order. And at the same time, it's also it's going to be probably based off of a deep-seated father complex, likely, like a sense of not being good enough or trying to please your father or please like the very hierarchical power structure that our society dysfunctionally thrives off of. So all those themes are kind of emphasized here, but this is really something you need to let go of, especially being in the 12th house. It's not really going to be serving you. Definitely not. Kind of a strange card there. And the Emperor is totally and utterly destroyed by justice, in my opinion. Justice is much more powerful than the Emperor. Ambition and power can never escape the jaws of justice. Justice is, in this deck, it's the 11th card, but I don't agree with that for reasons I actually have explained in a video I've done with my friends Vanita and Fernando on the Justice card, which I don't think is released yet as I make this, but it will be soon. But the Justice card is normally 8, so she's twice the power of the Emperor in a sense. And she treats, kings and common people the same. You don't get special treatment because you're a king, right? So that's kind of what's going on for you generally, right? But then we've got an aspect from the 4 of Swords, the 6 of Cups, and the 3 of Swords. So really interesting stuff happening here with that. Let's see if we can decipher it a bit better. The 4 of Swords is a need for a pause or a rest. So there's an influence upon you to pause and rest. 4 of Swords is the 4th house, so take care of your own personal life, your own personal space, and don't try to be too ambitious anymore. You need to really take care of this for sure. And, even if a crisis does ensue, you will most likely have a peaceful place to go after that. In contrast to the 10th house aspecting 3 of Swords, kind of like a really cutting your losses and moving on with life in terms of your actions. But this could also negatively be a disruption of this peace, right? Like you it will be more beneficial to, I think, go to this fourth house place. But the 10th house is sort of how you've been acting, and you've been acting, if you've been acting belligerently, okay, if you've been acting without concern for how it makes other people feel and stuff, or if you've been silencing the voice of your own heart, then you're going to have, you're just going to have more of a towery kind of time, I think. So this card is sort of, it's like you've got two paths here. You're like, on the one hand, you can rest. On the other hand, you can keep jabbing forth until something happens. Kind of a risky thing to do in light of the Tower being here. The other card aspecting from the 7th house is the 6 of Cups. And so it kind of makes me wonder if you've been neglecting your romantic partner or just other people in your life and that sort of a thing. If you've been overlooking something and whatnot, or someone, or just, giving some room to like life's little pleasures and little moments. But this is, in aspecting the Ascendant, you're at least, you're getting 2 good aspects there that can really help you in this time of crisis, because you may not be able to avoid the crisis. I don't know what it is. This is a general reading, remember. But if this crisis does ensue, you have, you can potentially find some help from other people and from like taking time to just sort of sort your private life to get, and make, like spend more time at home. Don't necessarily run out into the world as much, and just take the time to like meditate and put your affairs in order and stuff like that. So these 2 cards can offer you some aid. This card is kind of egging you on, I think. Okay, so in the 2nd house of family and finances, this could be a motherly figure in your life. It could be your mother and so on. They are perhaps judging you very harshly, but they may also be somebody who can offer you some like cogent advice and help with regard to actually dealing with the situation you're in. This may not be somebody you really want to talk to or deal with, but you might want to consider if they could help you or not. On the other hand, they may be just judging you too harshly. Justice and the Queen of Swords kind of coming together for a moment. So you've got kind of like, I don't know, maybe it's judgment on both sides. Like the voice of your father in the past, maybe he's no longer with you, or the voice of ambition and power and dominance, like feeling like I'm, I have to have this. I have to climb to the top. Otherwise I'm never going to be anything. And then this other figure just kind of being like, what the fuck are you doing? Okay. Like nothing you're doing is working. If that's the case, just don't talk to that person for a while, because you don't need that in your life while you're dealing with this. Okay. So I'm sorry. I hope this isn't like giving you a heavy heart. I don't want anyone watching these videos to like worry for their life or anything like that. These are general readings, for the different signs, and I have to read what I see. I don't sugarcoat things, right? So on the other hand, like all this like clusterfuck of the stuff, right, is a tremendous opportunity to reassess what's important in your life and to get at the root of some of your issues, okay? And to find some peace of mind and to remember those things that are really important for you and bring joy, right? You've kind of pushed them away from yourself. The 7th house is in the distance, in a sense. So you've kind of pushed them away from yourself, maybe. That's probably why it's reversed, okay? Okay, so yeah, she is aspected by the Emperor, right? Again, that power ambition sort of thing happening here. So the advice and things you're getting from this person, and it could be also like a lawyer or somebody like that. It could be a reader too, which is interesting. This person could be, just giving you advice that unfortunately is overly rational and logical. It's not dealing with like the true nature of things and the feeling level of things. It could be dealing too much. It could be just too logical, too idealistic, not really helping you or bringing you down to earth in any sort of way. Judgment aspects, which again makes me think that this person is actually literally being more judgmental. of your situation and not being sympathetic or really supportive in a way that they ought to be. And the Chariot would add to that as well, too, I think. The Chariot is, again, another very ambitious card, very individualistic, and it's reversed here, Judgment's reversed, adding maybe to a little bit of the dysfunction that I'm sort of picking up on. Financially speaking, it's sort of like things are out of your hands financially. I don't think there's too much you can control financially this month, and there may be just too many different factors pulling you in too many different directions and whatnot. Whether this is your mother or an authority figure, right? Ninth house is also the father. This is the ninth house from Sag. So a father influence, so parental influence. This is the sixth house. Sixth house is enemies and stuff like that. So, and just also it's the sense of not feeling good enough along with the 12th house. So there's kind of all that in the mix here, potentially making finances a little strange this month. I don't see like a tremendous loss of finances. I just don't see much like stability or empowerment with finances. Okay, we need some more good news here for you, though. So that's where we get to the Eight of Wands in the third house. I think very auspicious place for this card to be, because it represents the more you put energy toward it and move and get things going, the more you'll be able to like overcome obstacles and kind of connect more with your volition, which has kind of gotten lost in the fray, it seems like. So the more you move, the more you get up and do things and really, just make things happen, change things around in your house, in your life, your daily life, and so on, I think the better off you're going to be. And this card is aspected by the very auspicious world. So there's a very spiritual support behind moving things around and changing things. It will definitely be supported by other powers. Two of Wands, which is also a very powerful card, aspecting the Two of Wands, will sort of add to this card a kind of purposefulness. You'll be able to, as you move things, you'll start to realize like what it is you're doing and why you're doing it. Upside down Queen of Pentacles aspecting is sort of a little antithetical, I think. But again, it's showing like inertia. I feel like a lot of inertia, and so the need for motion is ever more present because of this inertia signified by this card, kind of influencing things to just sort of stay the same. But really need to move and listen to your own intuition, your own ideas, more than maybe this person's ideas. Or again, if this is not literally a person, it can be an attitude of thinking that you know everything or have everything together and so on, when you obviously don't, is what you're going to be finding out. And that's okay. That's actually great, because the more we admit that we don't really know anything, the more clear we are, and the more we'll be open to wisdom, actual wisdom. So fourth house, again, like very quiet, very very ordered in a sense here, or at least potentially. I kind of already talked about that. I sort of feel like it's I don't know, it's just less important than these other things going on. And, again, this dichotomy between acting prematurely and hurting yourself and others versus taking the time you need to just make sure things are in order and you have a clear head, so to speak. And that will allow you also to figure out what you're really after. Because again, I feel like this is getting lost. This is getting lost in the fray. And this is what is really going to bring you happiness. And I don't know what that is, but it obviously has to do with like community and family, and maybe getting back to some things you lost as you were a child, or when you were a child. So things that have gotten lost along the way as you were maybe pursuing ambitions or something like that, or moving around. But you're definitely contemplating it here with the Two of Pentacles, or Two of Wands, right? You're definitely contemplating that and whatnot. Fifth house. Fifth house is, again, it's joy and creativity. It's a bit stifled here by, again, either a womanly figure or a sense of feeling a sense of feeling trapped or having a lot of inertia or not really knowing what step to take next, kind of just having a bunch of stuff maybe that is clouding your living environment and whatnot. So I would recommend like cleaning house. Definitely cleaning house could be very therapeutic for you this month. Just getting rid of old stuff lying around your house, maybe donating it to charity or just throwing it out, shredding it, burning it, whatever you need to do. That would be very helpful, I think, especially with the Eight of Wands aspecting this. Judgment is aspecting kind of, basically it's going to give the opportunity to assess things as they are. Like, do I really need this? Do I really need all these corks that I saved from wine bottles? The kind of typical hoarder mentality that's there. Judgment is sort of summoning you to deal with that so you can actually be empowered again and find out who you really are and act from there. And the Emperor's aspecting it as well. And in this situation, I would say the Emperor is like a positive influence on this, because the Emperor does want to get things in order. He wants things to be in their proper place so that the empire functions correctly. And so once again, it's just organizing. And that will hopefully help you to tap into your creative powers once again. Okay, sixth house. We have the sixth house here, the Chariot. It's kind of like, I don't know, it's kind of like annoying obstacles, especially in the realm of travel and change and stuff. It could be it could feel as though an inability to really forge ahead. And that makes sense too with the Tower. The Tower is naturally a very sixth house energy to it, very Mars sixth house. So as this is happening, you may feel like totally debilitated, totally impotent in a way. Okay. But look, let's see what's aspecting it. The Two, the World, and the Queen of Swords. All these things are actually pretty positive in their influence on this, with possibly the exception of the Queen of Swords. But let's just reconsider this for a second. The Queen of Swords is, positively asking you to like reassess your situation and to deal with like things that are obstacles, like health problems or misfortunes, instead of just powering through them, right? Like, again, what the hell are you doing? What are you doing, right? She's like holding her hand up like that. So even if this person might be a really negative person or something, or you may perceive them that way, even if they're overly judgmental, you still could learn something from their perspective, even if you do decide to cut them out of your life or something like that, at least temporarily. They are asking an appropriate question. What the fuck are you doing? This is, this is you contemplating that, so to speak, with that aspect. So there's, this is going to give you the ability to contemplate it, which is good. And the World is going to support things by basically saying that it's bringing in like, what do you really want? What is your idea of ultimate fulfillment here? And it's sort of like, that's what's at the root of this problem, perhaps, this problem of decreased mobility and sort of a loss of power, is like, what do you really actually want? And really go for that, really tap into what's going to be supremely fulfilling, not what's going to be just, bring you power and increase your ambitions and stuff. Relationship wise, seventh house, we kind of have, we have influences on it that are indicating like a pause, right? Like some sort of maybe heartbreak over something or someone, and kind of a collapse of something. This is also upside down, increasing its decreasing its resiliency. So it's okay though. It's like, and it's kind of like, what path do you want to take? Again, you can rush into things, which will probably make things worse, or you can pause and let things just work themselves out. But this is also potentially like recovering something that you lost as a child, like I mentioned, like a lost love, whether it's a love of like an activity or an actual person. It could be like that person that you were in love with in kindergarten popping back up on your radar. And there may be a tendency to be like sorrowful about that or whatever. unless that person is actually in your life, I don't recommend spending too much time reminiscing about that, unless it's going to be therapeutic for you, because this card also gives the potential to just sort of cut away kind of negative emotional attachments and overly nostalgic states of mind and stuff. So in that sense, it could be a positive thing. You'll just have to see. 8th house, we have the 2 of Wands. 8th house, yeah, interesting. It's kind of, 8th house is kind of like the unknown and kind of what's happening underneath everything else. That's kind of pulling or pushing. There's an opening there, perhaps, an opening that will allow you to step into that domain and just sit with it. So this is actually, you're actually going to be in a sense, you're gathering power, you're gathering energies and whatnot. And this is going to be supported by the 8 of Wands. The energies are moving, kind of oddly aspected by the Chariot and the Emperor. So there could be, again, attempting to use this power for selfish ends. So you have to be aware of that. It's never worth it to be selfish with power that doesn't belong to us only. The 8th house is always a relationship energy, okay? It's not only our power. That's the 2nd house. The 2nd house is our power. And so if you're feeling disempowered this month, you may try to steal power from others. I would really caution you against that if that becomes relevant for you. But like I said, it's also a pause. So it's a great opportunity with this card to actually sit and face really difficult emotions and traumas. I would definitely recommend doing that with a qualified professional. A lot of psychologists and psychiatrists are kind of bonkers themselves, but there are other great people out there that can help you do this. If you are more experienced with meditative practices, you can do like a Vipassana style meditation with your fears and with whatever energies are sort of all colliding. So it just depends. You got to do this smartly, of course, intelligently, but it is a good opportunity to really take a look at those things newly. Again, he's looking at the world. So this is either a where do I fit in the world, or how can I conquer and control the world, which is very much Chariot and Emperor. But it's the world and stuff. It's not aspecting, but the world being in the mix. How do I fit in the world is probably the better question to be asking, instead of how can I control the world. All right, next, Judgment in the 9th house of Spirit or God or what have you. Well, I don't know, dirty laundry is being aired, right? You're maybe discovering new things that you hadn't realized before about whatever you believed. I'm not sure totally how to interpret this card as a 9th house position at the moment. It is also, well, actually, no. It could be also like a profound call from beyond to do something greater than what you're doing. Judgment doesn't give a freaking fuck about the worldly stuff. Judgment is purely summoning you to a greater, higher purpose, right? So it's up to you to heed that call. It's very, it's upside down, or reverse. So there's some trepidation about it. This card is turning away from that, or maybe overly contemplating power or nostalgia. This card is actually potentially very supportive of this card. And I'll get to that in a minute. Queen of Swords is also supportive, I think, because Queen of Swords is sort of like, positively like saying like, what do you have spiritually? That's all that matters. What do you have inside your heart? That's really all that matters, right? And we have the heart here again. Actually, the world aspecting Judgment, again, auspicious. The world comes after Judgment. So a pull towards the future or pull towards something more fulfilling and so on is again factored in here. Queen of Pentacles aspecting, again, that's inertia to me. That's really not necessarily helping this situation too much. That's the fifth house of feeling stifled and blocked individually, which may be stifling and blocking your ability to sort of heed that higher call or even hear that higher call, so to speak. Some part of your soul is beckoning to you, so don't ignore it, please. Oh yeah. So, Three of Swords, sorry. 10th house of career and actions and publicity and honors and stuff. Definitely a lot of, just challenges there for sure. The actions that you may be forced to take this month by necessity, just out of what arises, may not be so pleasant, But the good news is that this supports judgment in the sense that as you cut away the things that are not serving you, you can definitely head towards the world, which is the 11th house here, which is gains and things that you gain by being open to the good things in life. So that's cool because you have this calling, you cut away things, and then you gain the world, so to speak. Not in the way you imagined it, but in a more fulfilling way. That's the very real possibility here. So as difficult as things are in your public professional life or in terms of what you're doing on a larger scale and how you're approaching the future, and you may be a bit pessimistic, there's ultimately like a silver lining to everything, and all you have to do is look for it and then act according to that and keep that in mind instead of focusing on sort of the negative stuff, if that makes sense. This card is, kind of nostalgia that could be getting in the way, or it could be giving up pleasures for something greater that has to happen. This card is actually, in this case, kind of supportive of this card when we look at it as an aspect, because it's basically showing that even though you have to do difficult things, you will get the opportunity to rest after they're done and whatnot. You'll have the ability to have solitude and whatnot, and to lay things to rest too and move on. So that's nice. Your heart won't be touched by this, most likely. All the stuff that's going on, in a sense, is not likely to touch your heart on a deep level because of this Four of Swords, which is really cool. Tower aspecting that Three of Swords. Be careful that the crisis you might be experiencing in your personal life doesn't bleed too much into your professional life. It may be impossible, and that may be what needs to happen for you. But if you can, think about what aspects, if any, you can keep separate, right? Because professional and personal life are kind of there's a tendency for them to have a bleed through because of the aspects. All right, circling again around to the world, we have, these hopes and ideals and friendships, fairly auspicious stuff happening, like I've discussed. I would say the Eight of Wands is not actually as supportive to the world as the world is to it, because it's showing some impatience. Judgment is showing a certain amount of just judgment. I think just kind of putting the cart before the horse kind of a vibe is what I get from these two cards. Oh, and then we have the chariot, the horse, putting the cart before the horse, like wanting this too bad, and at the same time judging it as being too unrealistic or something, because it's in the 11th house of hopes and dreams, right? So putting it too off in the future, thinking it's something you have to achieve, you have to do. But no, this comes naturally. 11th house things always come naturally, and so does the world. The world comes as a result of just doing the other things we need to do, right? This and so on. It's not something you have to conquer, right? It's something you have to just be receptive to. And so in that sense, it represents ultimate fulfillment. And so deeply fulfilling things and experiences and places and people are, here for you this month. But don't rush and try to make them happen, right? Just let them happen. And finally, back to the Emperor, the 12th house. We already talked about that. If anything's going to interfere with anything else, like the world and so on, and it's this desire for power, basically. It's this father complex or deep-seated thing that you are dealing with this month. That is just kind of, it's not serving you any longer. So if you can find a way to let it go, please do. And again, ultimately, justice is the thread throughout everything. So this is really a month where you have a tremendous opportunity to really balance things in your life, even if that means going through a lot of hardships. There's the opportunity to really balance all the karmas associated with these themes. So, yeah, really, this is a really cool spread. I think I'm excited for you for sure. It's it's not without its trials and tribulations, but a lot of interesting stuff happening for you. So I hope this was helpful. All right, please hit like, subscribe, find me on Facebook, Instagram, and check out my website for actual readings, personalized readings, and all that good stuff. And have a great month. Okay, bye.